Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Elias and today we are going to be talking about my most anticipated reads of 2021. In 2021, there are just quite a few specific changes I want to make, especially to the books that I want to read. This year, I kind of want to strive to read more literary fiction. I did read more fiction sort of at the end of last year, and I sort of also want to get back into reading a lot more thrillers because I feel like in 2020 I didn't read as much thrillers as I would have liked. I do want to dive back, head into reading more thrillers, more crime, more horror, stuff like that, and also more fantasy. I do want to take a tentative step back from YA just in general. However, there are some YA books on this list that sound too good not to be added to this list. So I have 15 books, all have covers and all have release dates, assuming they won't get pushed back or changed or anything like that. So before we officially start, I would like to thank today's video sponsor, Luisa. So I am so stoked and happy to be finally working with Luisa. I've seen quite a few other booktubers who have worked with Luisa showcasing off their selection of the jewelry that they've picked. Not gonna lie, I've always wanted to work with a jewelry brands or lifestyle company because if you guys didn't know, I do wear jewelry as well. I have like 9 piercings, 5 on this ear, 3 on this one, multitude of rings. I have a simple basic style and Luisa for me caters that perfectly. Luisa reached out and asked me if I was interested in working with them and I was like, hells yes. They sent me a bracelet and 2 earring pieces. So let me just give you the brief run through about Luisa. So Luisa is a premium high quality jewelry company. And not only are their prices really affordable, starting at $39, they're ethical and sustainable because they're made from higher quality materials. One of the coolest things about them is that they're a carbon neutral company. They offset 100% of their carbon emissions, meaning everything that they take, they give back to the environment. So the first piece that they sent me is a pair of ellias earrings. Again, high coincidence that my name Elias and these earring pieces, Ellios, go hand in hand? I think not. They're super dainty, very elegant, my kind of style and not too flashy. The next set of earrings that I got are the Oshi earrings. They're super light and delicate. They have these gold star hoops with a celestial inspired design that I really love. And I'm currently wearing them right now. The next item I got is the Rowena bracelets. Initially, I was a little hesitant and worried because I thought the bracelet would be too small on my wrist, but thankfully it fits perfectly with a little wiggle room. So a little background about my jewelry tastes. I really like small and dainty pieces, not something too flashy or too sparkly. I really like layering things, like stacking rings as you can see right here. I don't mind mixing colors like silver or rose gold. So most of the jewelry I stuck with are rings and earrings, I guess. Over the years, I have bought a lot of rings that have tarnished really quickly. The color has faded and has given me the greenies, which is the quality of metal. Most of the time it's like copper or something. The material sort of deteriorates and the color fades. So it leaves like this green tinge around your fingers and whatnot. If you guys are interested, definitely use the link down in the description box below and use my code to get 10% off your first purchase. So in all, thank you again to Luisa for sending these pieces my way and sponsoring today's video. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into the list because there's quite a few books that I have to talk about. I'll be going in order of publication dates, starting in February. So if you guys see me looking down at any point in the video, it's because I'm looking at my laptop, just remembering all the publication dates and also the summaries for all 15 books. So coming out on February 9th, is We Play Ourselves by Jen Silverman. So this is a literary fiction that has a queer cast of characters, and I'm really interested in this one because it has all sort of the right flavors, the right elements that I like in books, all wrapped into one. It takes place in California on the West Coast. It's about a young playwright who moves to Los Angeles to reinvent herself and meets her new hot neighbor who is a filmmaker. So I'm getting a lot of like indie vibes. I feel like this would be like a really great indie movie I would probably see. So what I'm getting from the blurb are main themes of manipulation, ambition, and the main question is, how do you know when you've gone too far, especially in the pursuit of fame? Not a lot I can say about this book, but I'm pretty excited because the cover is stunning. The next book is actually YA, and it comes out February 23rd. This one is A Dark and Hollow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth. So this one's really interesting because it's supposedly The Cruel Prince meets City of Bones. So it's been a long while since I read a good YA urban fantasy. I can't even remember the last YA urban fantasy I've read. So this one follows a group of queer characters who band together to stop a serial killer from exposing the magical world of fairies to human beings. So this one sounds really interesting and epic, and I'm absolutely here for it. Alright, so moving on to the month of March. Next we have Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. This novel deals with like artificial intelligence, AI, which is really interesting, especially in today's world, the world that we live in, with the advanced technology technology that we have and what we can do with it. It just really amazes me and also scares me at the same time. So this book follows an artificial friend who has observational qualities. With these qualities, she watches people from the store hoping that one of these customers would choose her and take her home with them. And throughout it all, this book explores the fundamental question of what it means to love. I guess it's really relatable in a sense that I feel like everybody, no matter where you are in life or how old you are, inevitably, we're all looking for love at some point in our lives. It's really interesting to see from a different, other perspective of an artificial intelligence trying to find that aspect or form of love. All right, so the next book coming out on March 23rd, Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. All right, listen. For me, the last couple of recent releases from Peter Swanson have been sort of disappointing. Nothing has ever matched or lived up to the first book I read from him, which is The Kind Worth Killing. That book was exceptionally brilliant and astounding in every way, one of the best thrillers I've ever read, and nothing he has written as of late has really lived up to that potential, I feel like. I'm really nervous to see what this next book will do, what it will bring, because to be honest, I'm not a fan of like domestic thrillers when it has to do with like marriages or like deceiving spouses, you know. I'm just not about that life. There's always so many thrillers depicting married couples or couples who have been in a relationship and then they finding out that they never really knew the persons that they married, which I'm like, okay, if that really was essentially true and happening to literally every married couple in the world, we could literally never trust anybody ever again. There's just so many tropes and so many things that could go wrong, especially within like sort of like a domestic thriller. So this one is about a young woman who has a bachelorette party. Things get carried away and she has a one-night stand with this random stranger. She wants to put all this behind her because she's about to marry the love of her life, essentially. But what do you know? This random stranger appears, it literally turns out to be some crazy psycho stalker. I don't know, there's just so many different directions this book can go to, but I'm just gonna leave it up my faith in Peter Swanson, because the last book that I read, I believe it was called Rules for Perfect Murder. That one was a step better than the last 3 books that I read from him. So I have faith. I have faith in you, Peter. Please do not fail me. The last book in March 30th, She's Too Pretty to Burn by Wendy Hurd. All I know about this book is that this book is a retelling of The Picture of Dorian Gray, but make it sapphic. That's all I needed to know, and that's all I wanted to know, especially after seeing the cover, Chef's Kiss. So it's about these 2 girls, these 2 friends, and what takes place over the course of the summer. Fire, 2 murders, 3 drowning bodies, 1 suspect, and a stalker. Basically a chaotic mess, and I'm here for it. So we are now moving on to April, and the first book that comes out that I'm excited for in April. April 6th, to be exact. Pieces by Helen Oyeyemi. Hopefully I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. So this one is actually really interesting because it sounds really magical and whimsical, which I'm absolutely here for. So in a way, I guess you can categorize this under speculative fiction. Fiction that has sort of some magical essence to it, I guess. So it's about these 2 men, I believe they're men, Otto and Xavier. I assume they're 2 gay men. I'm here for it. About Otto and Xavier who are on this train, and they find that this train is a little weird, it's a little strange. So there's not a lot I can say about this particular book because the blurb itself is pretty vague. This book essentially is about what it means to be seen by other people, which I find to be really interesting because you're passing by so many people, so many strangers, like every day in your life. How do other people perceive you and how do you perceive them? And right here it says, whether it's your lover or a stranger on a train, what happens when things you thought were firmly in the past turn out to be right beside you? Already I'm getting goosebumps. This sounds so good and I can't wait to get my hands on it. So I believe that's the only book in April that I'm excited for. Moving on to the next month of May, Mr. Impossible by Maggie Stiefvater. This one comes out on May 18th and it's the second book in the Ronin-centered trilogy. I read the first book. What was the first book called again? Oh my god. Call Down the Hawk. Not gonna lie, I was a little underwhelmed and disappointed by that particular book. However, I have high hopes for the sequel because it sounds as if Maggie is amping things up just a little bit, and I'm curious to see what direction this book will go towards because the last book ended on a obnoxious cliffhanger. Funny enough, everyone has been sort of not exactly making fun, but the title of the book has been a huge debate for a lot of people because a lot of people have been saying that it's a pretty funny title, others are saying it's extremely weird or just out of style, not really fitting in with the whole Ronin Raven Cycle universe. However, I feel like I'm okay with it. You know, I think it's interesting and I think it's different enough to stand well on its own just as a title for the second book. We really don't know what to expect, I guess, but also the cover itself is fantastic. I feel like I'm the minority in this one because everyone wasn't really satisfied with it, but I'm okay with it, and I think it's a huge step up from the first book's cover. So, okay, so now we are in the month of June. On the very 1st of June, my most anticipated book, essentially this whole list, comes out. The Chosen and the Beautiful by Nhi Vo. I cannot tell you how excited I am for this book. When I first heard about it, I literally screamed. I was like, where and when can I get my hands on an ARC? I needed this book now since yesterday. So this is essentially a fantasy retelling of The Great Gatsby featuring an Asian American queer main character. I feel like this is the book, the elixir of serotonin that will help me gain back the 10 years that I lost in 2020. It's a world filled with pacts, illusions, ghosts, and mysteries, and I'm just here for it. So excited. The next book, also coming out on June 1st, is The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Delia Harris. Zakiya. Don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. I am so excited for this book. Oh my god, it sounds so good. It's said to be Get Out meets Devil Wears Prada. All these marketing strategies clearly working on me. I'm really excited because this is another thriller. Essentially, it follows a young black woman in a workplace. I guess fundamentally, it all comes down to how women of color, especially black women, are treated at a workplace, whether they're overlooked, manipulated, or threatened. And I think that is such an integral and really intriguing aspect, especially in a thriller way to look at it. So I'm really excited for it. Alright, so the next book in June, comes out on June 21st, is That Weekend by Kara Thomas. So it's about 3 best friends who go on a secret trip to a lake house, and only one of them comes back. With Kara Thomas, this is really interesting because this is a YA thriller, and I typically don't even reach out or read YA thrillers anymore. However, Kara Thomas is the only YA thriller author that I will make that exception. Most of her YA thrillers I've genuinely really enjoyed. It's been a while since she has come out with a recent one, but I don't know. We'll see about this one. Alright, so now we are moving on to July. The next book to come out in July 6th, is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. I have no idea if it's pronounced Sager or Sager, but that doesn't matter because he is coming out with a new book. Riley is my go-to thriller author for all of his books. I've enjoyed every single one of his books. I've given them 4 to 5 star ratings. They're thoroughly enjoyable, they're fast-paced, and most of them can be really bloody at times. One of the main things I really appreciate about his books is that he takes certain tropes or takes certain aspects, especially from horror movies, and just expands them into like a full-blown thriller book. 100% down for it. It's just really fascinating to read too. So this particular book takes place in the early 90s, and it follows a young college girl who takes a ride with this stranger, and along the way she has suspicions that he might be a serial killer. So this one sounds really tight and claustrophobic, and I'm very excited for it. I mean, again, all the books on this list I'm excited for. Alright, so the next book that comes out in July 20th, is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. So this one is a fantasy historical fiction, and it's sort of Mulan inspired as well. It's one of the main reasons why I wanted to pick it up. It's about a young girl who takes on the identity of her dead brother to this monastery. And that's pretty much all I know about it. The cover itself is just stunning. Don't know really too much about it other than that it sounds good, it looks good, and hopefully it will be good. Moving on to August, on August 3rd, we have The Woods Are Always Watching by Stephanie Perkins. It's about these 2 girls who go backpacking in the woods only to run into a serial killer. It has such a simple, basic premise, but it 100% works. It just sounds honestly like a great horror survival slasher movie. Alright, the last book in August, on August 31st, is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. So Stephen Graham Jones has been dubbed as Jordan Peele of horror literature. That is a title that not a lot of people can achieve. So this is about a young girl who feels like she's trapped in a slasher film, which is a really interesting take. This one is really interesting to me because the author takes sort of a slasher take, a horror approach to gentrification, which is a conversation in of itself. But real excited for this. The title itself is just chef's kiss, so intriguing. So the last book on this list is in September. It comes out on September 7th, and this one is No Gods, No Monsters by Cadwell Turnbull. All I know about this book is that it follows a plethora of characters and the world descending into madness as monsters venture out and come forth. Trust me, it sounds better than how I'm explaining it. There's like werewolves in here. There's a professor who follows a missing friend's trail of breadcrumbs to a mysterious secret society, a young boy with unique abilities who seeks refuge, and a pro-monster organization with secrets of its own. People are disappearing, suicide and hate crimes increase, protests erupts globally, both for and against monsters that are coming out into the real world and announcing their existence. So again, this sounds glorious and batshit crazy, and I'm absolutely here for it. So those are all the 15 books I'm most excited to read this year in 2021. I will also make it more of my personal goal to read more backlisted books, especially the books that I own, considering there are some big changes ahead, personally for me. Let me know down in the comments below if any of these books are on your radar or your most anticipated book of 2021. Alright guys, that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys all soon with a new video.